Coming up, UFC 288 goes down this weekend, headlined by a bantamweight title fight between the current champion Aljamain Sterling and Triple C Henry Cejudo. In the co-main event, a welterweight number one contender bout goes down as Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns face off in a short notice 5-round clash. Also taking place this weekend is One Championship's US debut, headlined by Demetrius Johnson and Adriano Moraes' trilogy bout. My name is Frank Bonada here for the MMA stream, and I'm joined as always by Murdo Todd, who is joining me from sunny Tenerife right now. Murdo, how are you? And how are you feeling about UFC 288?
Personally, I felt a little better in my time, but it's I don't know, a fairly interesting main event this weekend. The cards are the other card, the rest of the cards are a bit lackluster for me, but that's nothing new for the UFC, to be honest. I always feel like a couple months before, you always think, oh, this card's gonna be the greatest, and things
Mm.
just don't happen, and someone gets injured or whatever, and it just never really seems to pan out just how you'd like it.
Well, you remember this card originally had Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. It had Evloev versus Mitchell. If I scroll down, uh, okay, there wasn't any other really major fallouts. Petrosky versus Petrosian was on there, but that's no loss. Yeah, it's not the best card ever, but there are some very high level fights at the top of the bill. Of course, Aljamain Sterling is defending his title, his bantamweight title, against former double champion, gold medalist Henry Cejudo. How do you see this fight playing out?
I think it's difficult to judge. I think with the timeout, I always see Luke Thomas post this stat. It's like of the 30 people who've challenged for titles above the age of 35,
Mm.
it's like only three have ever won. I'm not saying Cejudo can. He's got the tools. I think stylistically, he kind of has the skills to maybe get the better of Aljamain Sterling in terms of the defensive wrestling, and I think will be the far better striker. Less physically big, but
Mm.
um, I think it'll be close. I think it'll be more competitive. Um, maybe it's a tough one because the timeout really. I think it's nearly 3 years to the day
Yeah,
since he last fought, and even the Dominic Cruz win. It's like when you look back at it, and it's like how impressive really is it? The Moraes win is obviously, I think, a fantastic win at the time. Moraes
at the
was
time,
kind of at his
especially.
peak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so oh, I don't know because Sterling's huge. He's just
Mm.
eventually he's going to have to move up. He's absolutely massive. But if I had to pick, I'd probably go with Cejudo. What about you, though, mate?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards Cejudo as well. Just I think he has more skills. Like Sterling is incredibly talented in that one sort of facet of his game, in the grappling and the back takes and the human backpack moniker that he's picked up. But so he as much as it's become a bit of a meme to call him the triple C Olympic wrestler stuff, he is an Olympic wrestler. He
Yeah,
has that elite wrestling skills that I think will at very least be enough to sort of match Aljamain in the wrestling and the grappling scenarios. Maybe Sterling does take the back, but I don't think it's going to be easy. And I think Cejudo is going to be skilled enough to potentially get out of those positions where people like Piotr Jan were not able to.
yeah. I mean, it's even when he gets the back, does he get the submission?
Not necessarily. He didn't against
You
Jan.
know. Yeah, exactly. It's I just the timeout really just I don't know. It gets me sometimes, and I think people's chins really they get
Mm.
caught with weird shots after the timeout. But yeah, on the feet, I don't see it being competitive at all, really, to be honest. I just think Sterling's striking's like they've called it funk master. It's just not very good, to be honest. It's just not very technically good. Not very powerful, but
Yeah.
the wrestling is just Cejudo's wrestling is just unbelievable. And he's so athletic, very athletically gifted, and he's got a
Mm.
great mind for the sport. So it's like, if he gets the back taken in the first round, I can see him making the adjustments that he
Yeah.
needs to kind of, get out of those situations later on in the fight.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I just he just has more going for him. But maybe Sterling gets 2.5 rounds of control time and somehow
Yeah.
ekes out another split decision. It might happen.
Yeah, it wouldn't really surprise me, to be honest. Sterling is very talented, and he just kind of he seems to have really got his stride. He's got his confidence, you know. I think he feels like the legitimate champion, you know. I
Yeah.
think he's kind of got that swagger about him that maybe he didn't have before. Maybe he didn't have that kind of self-belief after the Yan fight. So he's coming in hot on this one. Do you think he moves up after?
No, I think he'd want Sean O'Malley first and then move up
Yeah,
because that's a money fight and it that'll sell.
yeah,
Um, and I think it's quite winnable for him. I think it's more winnable than a Cejudo fight. I think Cejudo's a tougher test for him stylistically.
definitely, definitely.
So yeah. And then maybe move up is on for him. But I mean, what move up and fight Volk?
Yeah, I don't think that's. I think that's if he tries that striking with Volkanovski, I don't see it lasting particularly long, to be honest.
No. And even like, the fact that Islam Makhachev couldn't do too much in the wrestling exchanges, and he's like double Volk's height.
And I don't
Uh,
even think I think Sterling's takedowns aren't like they're not great. You know what I mean?
no,
He's not a I don't know. He's not a very explosive wrestler. You know, he's a good grappler. I just think, but I think if he gets to that situation,
yeah.
um,
The one thing I keep seeing people say is that the fact that he trains with Marab day in, day out might put him in good stead to fight someone with the sort of potentially wrestling heavy approach that Cejudo might take. I mean, his last couple of fights have been more striking centered, but uh, if Cejudo does try to do that, he's definitely going to be ready for it because, yeah, like I say, we went on a massive tangent last episode about is there anyone who could beat Marab, but you know Sterling's literally in there day in day out with him, so
yeah, but I think it's good. It's good to maybe mix in a few takedowns or takedown attempts. But I think
yeah,
Cejudo finds his. I think I see it. He finds his most success from the feet. To be honest, and I just think you don't really want to take that risk
mm,
with Sterling in the grappling exchanges. To be honest,
yeah. You just remember how quickly he subbed Sanhagen, just like
yeah,
just like that,
I know that win now looks really really good.
incredible, yeah. It's a great fight, and yeah, I think regardless, the winner probably fights O'Malley. Though of course Merab is there if Cejudo wins.
Yeah,
There was a little bit of back and forth between Cejudo and Merab last night in the press conference. So yeah, bantamweight's in a pretty good spot, even with this weird Merab Aljo friendship thing holding up the division.
yeah, and the pair of them, they're not. I think naturally they're not the most charismatic and witty, but they are trying to sell the fight. I just think
Yeah,
like some of it is just like you can tell you practice that in front of the mirror. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. All right. Well, let's have a look at the co-main event on this card. Obviously, like I said before, Oliveira dropped out of the fight with Benil, or they pushed it back, I think, to UFC
Yeah,
289 or 290, I'm not sure. So Bilal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns is booked on 2 or 3 weeks' notice. Obviously, Burns came out of the fight with Masvidal at UFC 287, where he looked okay. Like,
a little
like
gun shy, I think.
yeah, a bit. Maybe got into his groove a bit in the last round, but yeah, early on definitely. But how's that weight cut, whatever, going to deal with him? And then also Bilal's coming out of Ramadan, which really wasn't that long ago either.
Yeah,
I spoke to loads of fighters talking about how they wouldn't want to fight through it or shortly after because of the toll it takes on your body. Um, so yeah, I don't think either are particularly going in with advantage. I know Bilal wanted to go into this fight at 180, but Burn said, "Nah, it's well welterweights. It's a
a
welterweight
number
number one
one.
contender fight, and if you fight that at 180, it's like, come on."
Yeah, you can't call for the number one shot and go, actually, can we just make it 10 pounds up though, mate? Um, yeah, it's weird because I think with the Burns one, you can look at it in two ways. He's either coming in hot and he's got a bit of a roll on, and he can go training camp to training camp, and it's kind of because he didn't take too much damage in the Masvidal fight,
No,
or he's coming in overworked and it's going to kind of catch up to him, and you can see maybe people's chins can kind of deteriorate, but I don't really see that being a problem with Bilal's striking, to be quite honest.
Knock out Brady. But
Don't even
yeah.
talk about it.
um yeah, I don't know. It is 5 rounds and Bilal fights like a 5 round fighter, but if there is issues with weight and whatnot, maybe that might I don't know, it could influence it in a different way. But I don't know. Do you have a side that you're specifically leaning to in this one?
Burns. I just think like I think he's got the grappling to kind of defend Bilal's wrestling. And I also think like Bilal can get the takedown, but I don't think he really does much damage. He doesn't
Mm.
It's not a massive submission threat either. And I think maybe he wants to stay away from Burns' ground game. And I think on the striking, I think Bilal's poor, to be honest. I saw someone put like, "Don't sleep on Bilal Muhammad's striking." And they posted the most pathetic highlight clip I've ever seen of someone throwing the worst 1-2s I've ever seen in my life.
He
Um,
he will pressure Burns though. That's one thing. Like
yeah,
that's part of his game. Maybe his striking isn't the most technically sound, but he has that cardio and a good chin. You know, he will just wade in and keep that tempo high. Um, but you know, Burns has got a decent counter left hook.
yeah.
Um, Bilal's been
To maybe see him,
susceptible to leg kicks before, so I wonder if Burns could really just chew up that lead leg. Um, but like I said, I feel like Burns might slow down in the later rounds. Sort of remains
yeah,
to be seen how Muhammad deals with this potential weight cut issue. But yeah, I favor Burns, but I just think there's a bit of an asterisk over how the fight develops.
yeah. There's a lot of kind of unknowns going into the. There's a lot of different things kind of going in that you could see either helping or kind of
Yeah.
hindering both of them. Do you know what I mean? But I could honestly see Bilal getting kind of walking into something now and getting dropped.
Okay, so that's the co-main event. Look at the rest of the main card. Obviously, we had Bryce Mitchell fall out of the Mossa Evloev fight, which is a shame. Jessica Andrade versus Yan Xiaonan is a decent featherweight scrap that I favor Andrade fairly heavily on, just in terms of power, athleticism, and then a lack of power on Xiaonan's side. I know you're interested in Kron Gracie, Charles Jourdain. Just a quick word on that one.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's always Congress is a weird one. It's just kind of radio silent. So it's interesting. I think it's always interesting seeing these like specialists come into the sport. I
Mm,
just think it's like it's always a bit of a spectacle, and I think with the Gracie name, it's a bit of a it kind of I don't know. It adds to it. It's a bit of a kind of throwback, you know.
yeah.
He's been a bit moody this fight week. I don't really know what's. I don't know.
I think
The
he's always
whole
a bit moody, but
yeah, he
and also he's
seems like a bit
dealing with his first weight cut in like 3 years.
with Cejudo. To be fair, that would annoy me as well.
Yeah,
Just him to oh man, he's like what did he say? Let me know when he's done.
yeah.
Just walks off. Um
Uh,
yeah, again, it's the layoff and stuff like that. It's hard to kind of pick.
hmm.
Jourdain's obviously been a lot more active, but kind of
Coming off two
you can
losses.
see but you can also see where he could give Gracie openings to kind of
Yeah,
kind of work in his ground game. And it's all I always like seeing high level kind of like it's kickboxers or jiu-jitsu players kind of
yeah.
coming in. It always adds to it. Do you like it? Who do you like in it at all?
I wouldn't favor one guy or the other. I think Crom might submit him in round one, or Jade might like start running ahead in the later rounds, maybe get a late finish or unanimous decision. Um, it's just a fun fight. Like it's just a fascinating matchup. I don't really lean to one side or the other.
Yeah, I like these. It's a fun fight. I like these kind
It
of fights.
is.
It's maybe not pay per view worthy and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, maybe, but
but I don't know.
it's
The
it's
Gracie
not a
name
bad
does sell.
opener. It would be a great opener for a main card on a fight night.
Yeah,
um,
I do like Matt Frivola versus Drew Dober
that is a
a
really
lot. I
fun
think.
fight. Two guys who just
Wow.
like swing and bang,
Yeah.
as the Black Beast said. Yeah, they're just going to go in and throw hands. And I favor Dober just because I think he can do that and has the better chin, whereas Frivola hits really fucking hard, but he does get knocked out. Like his I think maybe all
Yeah.
three of his all three of his losses are by KO.
Or by KO. Yeah,
Um,
and the way he fights, you can see that opening because
or
Dober's chin. He is 90% chin, to be honest.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's a good fight. couple of
Good
Maria
action fight.
Rodriguez versus Jandiroba's on there. Good fight. Chaos Williams is fighting. Parker Porter is back. Praise the Lord.
The goal.
The goat.
I'm
um,
surprised that's not on the main card actually.
honestly, I would not be surprised. He's fighting a debutant. But
Oh
yeah,
God.
yeah, it'll be a fun card, but I mean, it's probably not one I'm going to stay up all night to watch. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I get,
uh,
I get. It's like I'm thinking like the Evloev thing. It's like it had the potential. I think there's like good. Yeah, like you said, it's not worth it to stay up, but I think I think there'll be some memorable moments from it.
yeah.
Some
I
really good
genuinely am
punches
really
and stuff.
intrigued to watch Kron Gracie and Jordan. That's like
Yeah,
it's one that I yeah, just intrigued. It's not it means nothing pretty much, but like I'm just
at
intrigued
least
for
it's
it.
fun.
Yeah, a
It,
couple of fights like that in there, but then yeah, like you said, losing Mitchell and Oliveira
yes.
and stuff, it does hurt this card's appeal. I do quickly want to talk about Cage Warriors Rome. We've been doing a lot of Cage Warriors coverage lately. Kalen Loughran, a sort of Irish, undefeated Irish fighter, um, is taking on Dylan Hazan for the Cage Warriors Bantamweight vacant title. Um, which is a fun fight. There are some UFC veterans on the card as well, Darren Stewart and Carlo Pedrosoli, whatever his name is. Um, quick word on Loughran versus Hazan. I know you're well, you might
uh,
I don't know if you have a side or not, but it's more that you don't have one side, right?
well, I don't know. I'm not really bought. I'd maybe like to see Loughran win because it's a bit of a makes a bit of
Really?
a bigger event.
I thought you
Well, it's a bit of a
despised
bigger event.
Loughran.
No, I would never go. I would never say that about a fighter, Frank. Come
Bilal.
on, you. That was
Bilal
unfair.
Sterling.
um, no, I mean, but Cage Warriors, I think they're just when they put cards on, they're such a great watch. I watched the other one. Well, yeah, we
Dublin.
spoke about it last
Yeah.
week. They're just great events. The Rome one, I think, what a venue! Like the Italy crowds go off, man.
One thing we did speak about Tobias Harila last week. He has been booked for a contender series fight now.
Really,
Yeah, I don't
when's
know
that
that.
going to be?
Uh,
Date?
I don't know when the season starts. Probably in a
Did you do
couple
in
months.
July?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it
something
was
like that.
July
It's
last
just
year.
summer. Yeah. So there you go. Harila might be in the UFC. That'd be pretty cool.
Watch it.
Uh,
Yeah, he's fun to watch. So it's like
he
you
well,
just
he
like additions like that are great.
he's like Charles Jordan, isn't he? He's one of those
Yeah,
sort of fighters. He's not going to win anything, but like he'll be fun for as long as he's around.
yeah, exactly. It's like yeah, maybe not the best, but he looks pretty good doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
Um,
What do you think about the Cage Warriors?
yeah,
Like,
I just love Cage Warriors. I just think they're yeah, I have so much fun with them. And so right now, I think the talents they have on their roster is really strong, and I think there's a lot of guys in there that you're going to see in the UFC in the coming years now. So it's a really good time to sit down and watch their events. There's a lot of talented Italian fighters they've got on the roster right now. So yeah, it's well worth a watch, well worth tuning in because I think it finishes just before the UFC starts. That's usually how
yeah,
they run things. So yeah, Loughran and Hazan are both brilliant fighters. I would not be surprised to see the winner in the UFC before the year's out. I feel like we didn't get your full like.
you know, let's leave a bit of mystique about it. You know.
All right.
But would I think Loughran's biggest issue would be fighting USADA, to be honest.
I mean, no comment. I've
No
interviewed the man.
comment.
He's a nice guy.
No, of course. I'm just poking a bit of fun.
A
But
wee bit of
that's
fun. Yeah, I'll
a bit
clip
of fun.
that. Send that over. Uh,
Please don't.
brilliant. Well, we'll be back next week, and we'll probably have a bit more of a detailed analysis of that fight once it's been, as well as UFC 288. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it
I
was a
say,
bit
so,
slap bash, the technical errors, and but back to normal
yeah,
recordings next week.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, you're back in the country. Awesome. Yeah, tune in next week. Like I say, we'll be back with some sort of post fight roundup stuff from all the events this weekend. There's also one championship. We've kind of recorded this a little bit late, so we missed the chance to preview that properly. But no doubt that's going to be a fascinating matchup, the trilogy between Moraes and DJ. Um, So yeah, we'll be back. Find me on Twitter, Frank Bonada, and Murdo at Murdo_Todd. Any last words, Murdo?
Um, not
No,
this week.
as usual. We'll be back next week. Peace. We out.